What's up guys, welcome. So we've got some big updates from Ross himself on the whole situation that he is involved in. For those who don't know, earlier this year in 2025, a guy named Phoenix came out and posted a 20-page long Google Doc outlining all of the problematic behaviors of Ross, which involved AI usage without disclosure as well as allegedly not wanting to pay his employees. Now I've made a video on this subject, so my thoughts on those topics are out there, but a few weeks back I had a chance to actually speak to Ross on the phone. He fully admits to and owns up to the mistake that he made in his lack of transparency around AI, and also in regards to the pay situation, he was very much apologetic and felt very bad about his lack of communication. So as a fan of his, I just want to say it's really great to see that he's actually genuinely taking responsibility in this situation. But here's where it gets a little bit crazy. So then Ross shows me a little bit of his personal experiences with the author of that Google Doc, Phoenix, and I was just completely taken aback. So I told Ross that as a creator, I understand that you might want to take distance away from all the negativity, but also as a fan and as somebody who supported him for a long time, I think this side of the story is just as important. So I did my best to try to encourage Ross to share this with you guys. So I'm going to link Ross's video down below, but I'm going to also go through this video with you guys because this gets absolutely crazy.
Video, I want to share more context to what's happening, share my side of the story, and also take accountability where I see fit. If this is your first time hearing about any of this, I'm sorry, this is not really the type of content that I align with, but I feel like I just have to say something. End of January, this document, this 20-page document came out about me. It was like a, very negative character assassination type of energy, attacked, me, my character, my aspects of my personal life, me being a bad dog owner, plagiarizing, my work, AI, it had, wow, I'm being attacked, right? What do you do when you're getting attacked? You try to defend yourself. And so I was, trying to get my information and my proof together and tell my side of the story. And I was in such a negative space. This is not me. This is not really the type of content that I want to put out. And I thought to just address the AI experimentation in my work, and then let the petty drama kind of do its thing, because it's drama. I tried to do that, but it's so loud. The hate is so loud. I tried putting out a video, tried to introduce my new pet to the world because I was so excited, and still human punching bag. Some people thought my silence was an admission of guilt, and I was like, this is so shitty, right? Because people, I feel like, expect the most and assume the worst, and it's just the territory that we're in. Now here we are, and I am going to try my best to tell my side of the story. I talked to some peers about it, and I feel like this is my last option.
First of all, I just want to say that this video for him to make is absolutely not easy, especially in a situation that he's in where he's getting so much harassment and so much hate.
Before we kind of really get into everything, I need to give you a little more context on the author of this doc and how they play a role in my life. There's usually an unspoken rule in just culture itself to, have boundaries, right? Hey, I'm here creating content, and this community, and try not to blend those lines, try to have a wall. I wanted to maybe see through that and challenge that a little bit, because at the core, we're all human, right? Why am I putting up a wall and trying to, hey, you're over there, I'm over here vibe? That's I feel like that's not really my style. Phoenix Soul was a very vocal, enthusiastic member of this community, commented on a lot of my artwork, trying to, talk to me and get my attention. And at first, my initial reaction was oh, I don't, but then I'm trying to go back to that principle of everyone is on their own journey, and maybe I can be a positive force of change for someone the way my mentors were for me. They embraced me.
So this is absolutely insane. And I think this right here is already a humongous red flag. So he's asking Ross, when are you buying me dinner? You'll be in the area. And he's going on day 291. This is insane behavior. This just screams chronically online and extremely obsessive.
I messaged back and I started chatting with this person, having conversations about art. Every now and then, I think they would try and push a little bit to see how much information they could get, go into personal life territory, and it would make me feel a little uncomfortable. So I try to steer it back into kind of more art focused, more work focused. We just had like basically kind of casual conversations about our journeys, about life and things. And I had a true intention to want to help.
So this is really messed up, but Ross actually showed me the content of these screenshots, and without disclosing exactly what it is, I can very confidently tell you that what Phoenix was asking and what he was probing into was extremely invasive. Again, this just goes back to boundaries. I think this is such a clear sign that Phoenix does not respect Ross's boundaries at all.
So I'm going to talk here about two conventions. For the first one, I put out an Instagram story asking like, hey, can anyone help with this convention? And I think he messaged me. It's like, hey, if I fly out to Los Angeles and help you, can you house me? And I'm gonna put the whole entire exchange so you can see. And I was hesitant at first because it's a lot of logistics and thinking, right? Like, you're hosting someone, they're flying out here, you are responsible for their experience and for their time, and they were really enthusiastic about wanting to come here and pushing a little bit and like trying to get me to see. I said, I don't want to be impulsive, but let me think a little bit. There are some logistical things. He's like, what are they? Let's knock them out. Who's gonna drive you from the airport to here? List out all the details. I said, hey, I can pay for convention lunches and dinner and try to take you to a party if I'm invited to, blah, blah, blah. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? And so they volunteered for that specific convention.
Now, you guys know my stance on paying for labor. I've made that pretty clear in my last video. If somebody's spending their time and putting in their effort to actually help you make money, you should share some of that money with that person. I feel like that's common sense. But in this specific case, I feel like here's just another example of Phoenix not respecting Ross's boundaries. Phoenix said, if I drop everything for a weekend, fly out to LA, would you be able to provide housing? So Ross replies very quickly and says, fine, you can sleep on my couch. And then a couple minutes later, I'm assuming Ross had some time to think about it, he said, let me get back to you with a real answer within a few hours if that is cool. Now, I think it's perfectly justified to be a little bit hesitant about hosting somebody who is not one of your close friends. So this response by Phoenix is pretty crazy. He says, listen, I also don't want to be impulsive, but I won't get far playing it safe. And then he says, okay, I will be asleep in a few hours, but I'm high-key gonna buy that plane ticket while it's 220 bucks. Again, where is the respect for boundaries? He's basically forcing Ross back into a corner by saying that he's gonna buy the flight anyways, so he's gonna end up in the city anyways. You don't have a choice. What is bro doing sleeping at like 4 p.m.? So again, this is just very pushy, very invasive, and it makes me feel genuinely uncomfortable.
So they volunteered for that specific convention. I thought it went well. I feel like they showed up, they did good work, and everything was good. And I started to believe maybe this could be an IRL friend. You know, it doesn't have to be just like this internet kind of like, well, like I'm slowly entertaining, like maybe it's possible. I think for the second convention, and this is where things got really foggy, as you can tell from their document, we never solidified any talks about payment details before his second convention, AX 2024. Before he came here, I toyed with the idea of possibly having him join us for Comic-Con 2024 at the end of that month, which are the screenshots in his doc. The screenshots in Fenn's doc shows me and him bantering. We were talking very casually about important matters. I feel like in his doc, the casual conversation was snipped. He left out some of his banter, which showed more color to our dynamic. But again, after reflecting, I understand that these are sensitive topics and I need to be more aware of the situation. Some time has passed and I realized I did not want to host him for an entire month, considering hosting is a lot of energy and effort. I don't know him very well and it's convention season. I want to make sure I have enough alone time as much as possible to recharge. Instead, for Comic-Con 2024, we found 2 local people and I did pay them. I wish we truly solidified business or payment talks before them coming here. That wasn't solidified, and they flew here, and then in person they asked if they could get paid, and I was like, oh shit, you know, like this is really sensitive topics. Talking about it for a bit, we decided to pay them. When I was reading this document, I was a little confused because, like, did this person get paid? Like, they seem very, like, angry. And then I found out, yeah, we did pay him $640 for the weekend. We got convention lunches, dinner, accommodations, hosting, also any free merch that he asked for, I'm pretty sure I honored almost all of it. The convention right after, which he wasn't a part of, he asked for a badge to attend, and I was like, here you go. So we gave him a free badge for another convention too.
I think it's good to see that Fen actually did get paid for this. I think there's just big miscommunication from both parties where neither side really talked seriously about the payment for this event.
Maybe he had an expectation of wanting me to spotlight him in front of people, like, hey, introduction, 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 and really handhold him through that whole process. I think in my mind, it was like a little bit of a disconnect considering how much we gave him. And he also goes on to say, oh man, so violating. I'm a bad dog owner, and when he came here, there was like no dog toys for Milo, and like, dude, there's so many. Like, Fen was a guest coming over to stay at my house. I cleaned up everything for his stay because I wanted him to live in a good environment, you know, and not have dog toys everywhere. That's the next thing that I want to touch on, because in their document, they mentioned that I tried coming to Ross first with all this, only to be shut down. And I don't think that's entirely accurate. Their way of coming to me with all this is sending, out of the blue, unsolicited, like a whole thing, 16 points of things I need to improve about myself. Attacking my character, attacking everything, my personal life, my relationships, my friendships. It was just a lot to read. Yeah, I felt like my boundaries was crossed. I don't consider this person a close friend, and so how does he have all these opinions that he's been kind of like chewing on forever, and then out of the blue, boom, here's something that you need to work on. Even though I didn't agree with this method, maybe I do have some blind spots, and let me take some time to read it and see if there's anything valid, because at my core, I do want to become a better person. I try to improve every day, right? And so I thanked him for his passion. After reflecting on the whole connection and seeing this, I do feel like it was pushing up against what I'm comfortable with. And I told him that I need to take a step back and revert to just internet acquaintances, and I need to protect my peace from all this, because this stuff is like not for me. Maybe I wish I could have done a better job at like sensing you were going through something and reached out a hand and said, hey, these are some serious accusations. This is a lot of negativity. Let's have a voice call. Let's have a video call and talk, or in person or something, right? But it just feels like a little sharp to feel like there's this case built behind your back. All right, this, and then the tipping point, all right, boom, 20-page doc.
If the previous things that we talked about in regards to Fenix not respecting Ross's boundaries didn't do it for you, this should. Look, I think any person with an ounce of common sense can see that this is extremely obsessive behavior. This is not healthy, and this is not what good friends do to each other. I know, at least personally, if there's a problem, if you have an issue with something that I said, something that I did, I would want you to say something to me right there and then. Let me know that was not cool, or sleep on it for a day. Come back to me the next day. You know, just say something about that thing. Communicate to me. That's how it should be between normal people and normal friendships. You can come to me and say, hey, Sam, that joke was not cool. I didn't really appreciate that. Could you stop doing that? I'll be like, oh, I didn't know about that. My bad. We won't be doing any more of that going forward. But instead, to just hang on to all of that, to hyperanalyze Ross as a person, and just collecting points and building them into a document like this is just unhinged, invasive, no respect for boundaries, and quite honestly, this is like obsessive to a scary degree. And again, I agree with Ross that maybe he could have dealt with the situation a little bit differently and had a voice call or something to actually hash things out. But at the same time, I understand wanting to distance yourself from someone who's obsessive like that as quickly as possible. And the next chapter is on AI.
All right, let's talk about the AI thing. In 2022, I made a video thinking AI could be a great tool. It just started coming out, and a lot of creators and artists were looking into it. It's this new shiny thing. And so my video was like exploring, this could maybe be a great tool to get out of your art block, to make maybe compositions, to get some inspiration, because it's just like, wow, right? That was obviously a very long time ago. I left social media at the end of 2022. At that time, I made videos and art every week for like 7 years. I couldn't take it anymore, and I left social media to really work on my mental health and my soul and my heart and just heal and just understand more of who I am. And then I checked myself into a mental health retreat in 2023. I came back from the retreat and I was still really tender and vulnerable. It did truly change my life, and I started to see things in another perspective and focused on peace and balance a lot more. Started to make content again, like very slowly. I failed to kind of educate myself on the totality of the AI conversation just being offline, and I asked my peers and I asked some people like, hey, what's the state of content these days? Like what's happening? Because I'm curious. Yeah, is it still TikTok dances? So as I slowly came back, I started to see this like really negative firestorm on the topic of AI. I'm a creator that just wants to see it for himself. I've always had like a natural curiosity, and I try to just like experiencing things myself and have my own awareness, my own opinion about it. But as I saw this kind of firestorm get bigger and bigger and bigger, I was like, oh, this is too volatile, this is too much, and I backtracked and I tried to delete it because anyone that touches it seems like people like getting eliminated. And yeah, I was acting out of fear. I backtracked and I tried to hide it. And for that, I'm sorry. I don't want anyone to think like I'm trying to be deceptive. I should have done better at educating myself on the nuances and the conversations and the environment effects. And I just turned around and went home, essentially. I tried to hide it. And for that, I take full accountability for it. I apologize.
I mean, come on, guys. That's the most respectable and reasonable thing that I've heard from somebody in regards to AI usage. And you guys know my thoughts. I don't agree with canceling someone just because they're using AI as a part of their process. And Ross is admitting that at one point he did experiment, and then afterwards he tried to hide it out of fear because of the backlash online. This is about as honest and transparent as somebody could possibly be on this topic. I think he's really setting a great example here by doing this. I don't agree with harassment campaigns on people, and I especially don't agree with people getting harassed just because they use AI as a part of their process. It's like everything else in life. You're never going to get everybody to fully agree on a single issue. So what good does the endless harassment and hate really do for us?
It's taught me and it showed me how badly I do want to change and do better. I think about the best version of myself and I'm like, yeah, there's way more I can do to get there. And this is showing me how much more kinder I can be. I can be more empathetic. I can be more intentional. I can be more aware and observant.
Ross, you also got to have more respect for your own boundaries too, man.
I think I'm still feeling a lot of emotions from it, and I'm still trying to process it. So forgive me if a lot of my thoughts are a little not completed. Right now, I am in the process of trying to find my new beginning. My mom came here to help me pack boxes. I'm trying to downsize right now.
Ross, maybe it's time you move to the East Coast so that you can get away from all the communication issues that seem to go on in the West Coast.
As I'm going through all of this, as I went through my healing journey, I realize what's more important to me is my inner peace. Life will throw stuff at you, and I'm trying to use this as a learning opportunity. To Fen, I'm sorry it unfolded this way. I really cherished our conversations and connection, and I tried, but I couldn't live up to your expectations. But I truly, from the bottom of my heart, wish you the utmost success and everything that you want, But personally, I want to move on. I felt like I died 5 times in the last 8 weeks, I want to focus my energy on things that excite me and joy and creating an art and just positivity. So that's where I'll be diverting my attention to. I know it's a bit long, never done something like this, but I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you guys soon.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm really glad that Ross decided to share his side of the story, to clear things up for his fans. I'm really genuinely proud of him for doing this. I think, for anyone watching this video, you really got to understand when someone is pushing your boundaries. You know, when someone is being invasive and being obsessive, in my opinion, a lot of the things that Phoenix said or did were huge red flags from the very start. And it's really a shame that Ross chose to try to see the good instead of understanding the risks that he was taking on by communicating with somebody who was clearly obsessive. Like I said before in this video, if you have problems with something that your friend is doing, just tell them. Tell them on the spot. Tell them the next day, tell them 2 days after. Look, their response is going to be whatever it is. You can't control that. But you really shouldn't bottle up these things and compile it into something like that 16-point essay. That is not healthy communication. That's not how you be a good friend to someone. And to be honest with you guys, if somebody in my life did that to me, which I can't even begin to imagine that possibly happening, but if it did happen, I would be just as taken aback as Ross is, and I would cut them off exactly the same way that Ross has done. So I'm really glad that Ross has came out and told his side of the story. So you guys can now check out my 2 videos that I made on this subject, and you can make up your own mind on what to think and what to feel about this whole situation. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm still gonna support Ross going forward. No one's ever perfect. Ross did make mistakes in trying to hide the AI stuff. And again, Ross came out, acknowledged it, said that it was wrong, said that he understands, and has apologized for it. I don't see any reason to keep harassing him and hating him for this. I think one of the biggest problems with anybody like Ross, for example, who's in the spotlight, is that people just hold them to an impossible standard, and they refuse to understand that at the end of the day, this is just another person. This is a human being. Everybody is going to mess up at one point or another. They're going to do the wrong things. They're going to say the wrong things, but we should also be able to give people grace, to forgive, to welcome them back with open arms and believe that they can genuinely change and be a better version of themselves going forward. I mean, come on guys, I'm all for improvement. If you can improve in art, who's to say you can't improve as a person? Life is just going to keep throwing these experiences at you, and the more you grow, the more you learn, hopefully the better you become. And you always work towards just being that best version of yourself. And look, to Fen, I feel like you really messed up in this situation, man. The moment that you admit you have a problem is the moment you can start truly working on that and becoming better. All right, Fen, look, I'm rooting for you. And Ross, I'm rooting for you too. You guys are both going to learn from this, and you're both going to come back stronger. You can go ahead and click on Ross's video, go check it out, leave a comment, send him some love. I'm sure he would really appreciate that right now, but same thing goes for Fen. Okay, I think this goes without saying that even if you don't agree with the things that he did, do not go and harass him or send hate. Well, that's it for today, guys. That is the conclusion of the Rossdraws situation. There will be no more of this. No more videos on this. No more discussions on this. All right, guys, we're done here. Let's go pick up a pen. Let's go draw something, all right?